Hello and welcome to the SPFL Through the Lens, another look at the football games in the Scottish Premier League. Tonight I'm joined by Jason Little, who is actually going to be joining me on a regular basis because of his expert knowledge as a UEFA B licence coach and currently going for his A licence. So a man of much wealth with tactics and everything else. Evening Jason, how you doing, mate?
Good evening, Peter. How are you doing? Okay?
I'm good, pal. I'm good. And thanks very much for joining and coming on board.
You're welcome.
Football in Scotland. Obviously, it was limited amount of games at the weekend there. I think, was it because it's supposed to be a Scottish Cup week? And I think that's why it was limited with the games.
Yeah. I was quite surprised. I think they've tried to cram in so many games because of the COVID outbreak, and obviously some teams were scheduled to play, some teams scheduled not to play, Motherwell being one of them. So the fixture, as a supporter, you need to obviously check SFA websites to make sure that your team's playing or not. So
I know, it's getting a wee bit crazy. Obviously, Livingston, a few weeks ago, they went through a spell with games getting cancelled because of the state of their pitches. I don't know. I think, did they know of about 3 or 4 games postponed due to weather conditions?
Yeah.
So, obviously, as you say, you need to check every single week to make sure your team's playing or not. What's getting changed and everything else. Anyway, what I would like to do, you being an experienced guy and a Motherwell fan, last weekend I looked at the Motherwell Livingston game because I was interested in the follow-up. Motherwell had a really, really good win against Hibs the previous week, a 2-0 away win. And I thought, I'll see if they've got any reaction and see if they can build on that. So I looked over the Motherwell Livingston game and I'd like to see what your thoughts are with certain things. Obviously, with Livingston, they went through a great sort of run of games. Was it about 12, 14 games or something unbeaten?
Yeah.
And David Martindale had them going great guns, playing well, playing attractive football, very, very hard to beat. And then all of a sudden they come to the cup final and the wheel comes off the carts. It's just, what do you think's happened, Jason?
Yeah, well, all due accounts, I think maybe a 3-1 result for Motherwell at the weekend maybe flatters us because I had a good view of the game and it was a pretty nip and tuck game, especially the second half. I think the managers come in under a bit of scrutiny since the old media start to highlight what he'd done in the past and whatever, and I admire what the board at Livingston have done to support him, first and foremost. I secondly admire what the players are doing because you can tell he brings a cutting edge, maybe an old school cutting edge, which you don't really see in the game. He just says it how it is, doesn't care if he upsets MD. And you can tell the players respond to it quite well.
I love watching David Martindale.
Yeah, love it.
I don't know. He's as you said before, he's a breath of fresh air when it comes to his interview. He's just, there's no airs of graces about him. He says it like it is, whether they were good, whether they were bad, what he's going to be doing for the future and that sort of thing. So I thought, I really like David Martindale. Everybody knows his history since 2014 or 2016, I think it was. I don't think we need to go over old ground there. And what surprised me was he came into the club as a volunteer.
Yeah, fantastic,
unreal.
Yeah.
Just think, when that time when I started with Airdrie as a volunteer, I could have been the manager now.
I just love it's like the Duracell battery bunnies that run about that never stop. He just reminds me of one of them. He's so enthusiastic.
I think he's really infectious.
He kicks every ball to the side of the pitch. I love that. I see I used to be a bit like that.
No.
And no, well, it's sad to believe, but I used to be.
I remember following a couple of your games when you were at Airdrie.
And it's for me, what I loved was when they played Rangers not that long ago. Mm-hmm. Steven Gerrard, cool camp collective at one side, and you've got wee Davy going after a kit at the other. And I think Stevie G was saying to himself, "What the hell is this all about here?" But I seen a couple of wee smirks and I went, "Oh, yeah." But I love it.
Apparently, I've heard a couple. All right, they were pundits, but apparently a couple of them thought it was a wee bit over aggressive with regards to his players at the weekend. To the touch line.
Well, do you know what? This is a thing that I sort of look at, and I think that the coaching side is becoming the old school ways are sort of dying out. If you think Alex Ferguson, mm-hmm. Alex Ferguson was just a Rottweiler when he needed to be a Rottweiler, mm-hmm. and the other times he was a wind-up merchant. And I look at David Martindale and I say, listen, this guy just wants to win games. He's been mm-hmm. put in a position to do a job. And managers nowadays are judged in performances, but more importantly, victories. Mm-hmm. And that's his job. And I love the way he sets up. He's got them very fit. I've noticed how fit they are.
Yeah.
And I always look at when teams are going defensively, when they put 10 guys behind the ball, how long they can sustain that when they're breaking forward. Mm-hmm. And
you've timed that perfectly, and even unscripted, talking about old school managers, right? What do you think of these rumours with Roy Keane possibly wanting a Celtic job?
We were in a Zoom chat the other night with the Morton guys, with the club, and we've got a few Celtic boys on it. And I feel them aren't happy with that. I'm completely opposite. I think for the profile of the game, wow, you just have to see him week in, week out in Sky. Mm-hmm. There's a sense of humour there, very dry sense of humour. Mm-hmm. But I tell you what, for a guy who puts demands on people, as a player with Man United, I mean, you just have to listen to Gary Neville. He would be the guy you would expect to be there if the mm-hmm. chips are down. But if you were being a flash Harry, you wait on being picked up on to get your job done.
You're not going to last.
I tell you what, if I was a Celtic fan, which sadly I'm not, I would be very, very enthusiastic on the proposals of him coming to Celtic.
Because I think those type of managers, I don't sit well with players today. Because, as you say, you know yourself, being involved within an elite club, a lot of the players are wrapped in cotton wool, they're mollycoddled, everything's lifted and laid for them. I mean, when I was with Rangers, the players had everything laid down for them from pre-match. Yep. All they had to do was turn up. If Roy Keane, I don't think... I think he would bring out the sort of mental strength in you. Because if you aren't mentally strong, then you're at the door. And I would think, taking the old firm aside, looking at the old firm, you need to be mentally strong. You'll know that yourself because of the demands. He knows the demands. He knows the club. He knows what's expected, and he's got high standards. Whether that would work behind the scenes, I don't know. But the major part of Steven Gerrard's success, I believe, is the background team that he's brought. Yeah. And that's where it would be interesting if Keane did bring someone, did get the job. It'd be interesting to find out who he brought, whether it's a sort of good cop, bad cop situation. And if he's the manager, you know yourself being on a training pitch. I've never been on the training pitch. That's your world. The managers would only step in now and again. It's mainly the coaches, like Rangers once again. Mick Beale, he'll run the training courses, and it's only now and again Gerrard will pop in and out. So it might work. It might work for Celtic. I don't know.
I think for it to work for them, I think he's got to bring in his own people, people that he can trust. It's very much the role that it's a trust environment. The culture that he'll bring, I think he'll upset a lot of people.
Definitely.
It'll be interesting to see who buys into how his philosophy is. But it's Roy Keane, isn't it? I mean, it's a guy who's won things at the very top, and no disrespect to Stevie G, who I'm a fan of massively as a player. Roy Keane won a lot more than what Stevie Gerrard did at the highest levels as a player. And I look at what Roy Keane did as a manager.
Only really had a good season with Sunderland. That was about it.
Yeah, saying that to be the assistant manager at Republic Island, they did a good job with Martin O'Neill there. Martin O'Neill, known through Big Care, Big Shirt.
Yeah,
he's a shrewd character. He's very particular in who he brings on board, and for him to bring him on board, for me, speaks volumes. Martin O'Neill. So,
don't you think it'd be interesting about Scott Brown? Do you think he would hold back on this so-called move to Aberdeen? Because maybe the new manager might want him in part of his background team, where he's the middleman between the players and the new manager.
Yeah. It's a good shout. That is a good shout. I think this could be, am I right in saying this is no Scott Brown's last season anyway?
Allegedly so. On his contract? I believe so, I believe so on his contract. I think that's why they're talking. I'm going to possible Aberdeen as assistant manager.
Yeah, I don't think they'll renew that. I know John Kennedy very well. Is John the manager, the lad to take them forward? I personally don't think so.
I don't think so. I believe he's a good coach.
Yes, he is a very good coach. He's an exceptionally good coach.
Nice guy. I bumped into him in the gym a few times.
Yeah, I think he still needs to be involved in the environment somewhere, maybe the reserves or something, as a spearhead at the reserves possibly. But I mean, John's been there for what 6 years now, in that sort of role under Brendan Rodgers, and I'm sure he was there with Ronnie Dyler as well. I'm sure.
Going on to your point with John Kennedy, maybe you know yourself being with elite clubs, roles within the academies change constantly, maybe 2-3 times during the course of a season, not just at the end of the season. I mean, once again, going back to Rangers, that's where I was mainly involved with academy football. Coaches were getting changed for the under-20s down to the 17s, and heady pathway and all that sort of stuff. I mean, look, Big Sean Crichton. I mean, he was head of academy pathway and everything else.
Yeah, he was head of youth at Morton, and then
he's now at Airdrie.
I think he's classed as a first team coach at Airdrie, but I know he's working with Hamilton Accies now. With the sixth, he's in the youth set up at Hamilton Accies.
With George Cairns.
Gio. Yeah, doing a very good job. Yeah.
Gary managed George, isn't he?
He's a good guy. I know George really. I had his boy Alan. At Alloa and Clyde. And Alan's a top lad. I think he's playing with Clyde Bank, I think, now.
George brought me briefly into Hamilton to do academy games, and then I got offered full-time work allegedly with Kilmarnock, with Jig, and let's just say that never worked out after a short period of time. So, but I found George rather intimidating. For me, anyway.
He's a former bouncer, isn't he? Big Clyde Bank boy, no, polite when he wants to be polite, ruthless when he wants to be ruthless.
He doesn't miss people.
I got on really well with George, to be honest with you, and enjoyed working exceptionally well with his boy. I thought his boy's attitude to come all the way from Clydebank to get a train into Glasgow, from Glasgow up to Stirling to Alloa, 3 times a week. I mean, I think he got that from his dad. This is what you need to do. This is what you need to do.
Yes, I don't think people really realise that kids and families make some amount of commitment to follow their football dreams. Obviously, the success rate.
Sometimes it doesn't always happen for them.
You took the words out of my mouth. Sometimes it doesn't. It's not successful. But I think maybe in Scottish football there needs to be a better pathway out of clubs. I think you could tell me right or wrong. I think some clubs could do better with regards to releasing players.
Just talking about the pathway, Peter. See this Project Brave thing, which in my opinion was supposed to be the next thing to bring the Archie Gemmels and Kenny Dalglish through the system. It just didn't wash for me at all.
It came in about, what was that? It was about 4 years ago. It came in because I know I was in my first year at Morton and Big Dale was working in that, and Warren Hawke had me to do a proposal with regards to the analysis side of the club, so they could put themselves forward for Project Brave. And at the time they were unsuccessful, but then Stenhousemuir and Falkirk done away with their academies.
They merged into Fife Elite.
Fife Elite. Yep. So that created a space, and that's how Morton got into it with Dale and stuff like that. So I don't know. Obviously, that's above my head with regards to the sort of pathways and this Project Brave. But I think it might still be in its infancy. I don't know. Maybe you have a better picture of that. Maybe 10 years down the line.
For me personally, I don't see the benefits of it.
You're seeing it daily and weekly.
Yeah, we at our club. No, I sympathise for the lower clubs, like your Alloas and your Stirling Albions, etc. Because being involved with Airdrie for almost 5 years, I mean, we ended up playing the same teams 3-4 times a season. Mm-hmm. Never really get the opportunity to be properly challenged. Mm-hmm. And then I thought it was a bit unfair in some of the younger pros, because I worked with the 18s there. Mm-hmm. And the next step, and you talk about steps, for me, that another thing they should never have got rid of was the 20s. No. They scrapped the 20s and went reserves. I think they should have kept the 20s and then reserves. Mm-hmm. Some of the decisions, the hierarchy, you go, what's the purpose behind it?
I know.
It's too big. To ask a 17-year-old who's still developing physically, their body-wise, to go up against effectively 28, 29-year-old adults is a big ask for me.
It is, but also on the flip side of that, it can give them an experience that further down the line they'll benefit from. Yeah. You know, where maybe
but when
they get to first team level, they'll be able to compete.
Well, you look at England, Peter. they still have under 23s.
Yeah. They've got the
finance. So
there's
that, yeah, they've got the finance. Of course, they have. Yeah,
I mean,
but I tell you that
it
would surprise you. It would surprise you that you talk about parents and the support the parents give. I mean, they could be. I mean, I was talking to Jazz, who was the reserve manager at Airdrie. They could be at Queen of South one Wednesday night, and the following week they're up at Forfar and Wimbledon. I mean, but these players weren't getting any money.
No.
But their parents were prepared to support them and take them here, there, and everywhere.
But how many times have you seen it? You've got a player who'll play for you on a Wednesday night, right? Maybe for the under-17s. The under-19s have got a game on the Friday, and he gets asked to play.
Yeah. I tell you the thing that sort of infuriated me at times. In fact, I'll take that back. Infuriated the parents more. They could be playing with us on a Sunday, and they'd be asked into the reserves because the 20s is gone, and they would go all the way up to, I don't know, Forfar, and just sit on the bench, and then they'd go down to Queen of South, sit on the bench, go to Ayr, sit on the bench, and the parents would come to me and say this, and I would say, well, listen, this is what happens.
Football.
Yeah, and maybe education could be. One thing that we do is we make sure the parents are fully aware of possible expectations.
Might not even be education, just communication.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to have a lad where he's going to come from a 17 up to a 19 game and then start, unless there maybe injury problems or the guys get a phenomenal potential. But look at St Mirren. I mean, the young lad that played against Rangers the other week at Ibrox come on as a sub, 17-year-old. Well, was he 16? I think he just maybe turned 16. I think he just turned 16. Because I've filmed him a couple of games in the academy. But going back to your point with regards to physically maturing, I mean, it's you'll know once again, it's gradually, if you see someone who thinks, he's got something different and something special, then it's how to sort of rein that in, because obviously it's trying to control it a wee bit, is it not?
Yeah, it's there's a lot of it. I mean, for a young player, in my opinion, who's playing week in, week out, 90 minutes, and then it's going to a step up, and then not getting any game time. I look at probably the mental side to it as well, Peter. What sort of impact that's having on a player who's used to doing things at a certain level, and then suddenly, and it's all, for me, it's about preparation on getting into the player's mind to say, here's what might happen just now. Build your way in. But this certainly happens at first team level, especially if you're moving through unless you're an exceptional talent. And one player that I can certainly say did exceptionally well on that, I brought him in at Airdrie, was a guy called Josh Edwards, who's now first team at Dunfermline.
Right.
Gordon DL and I had great chats about him.
Here's a character,
eh? Yeah. Top. By the way, personally loved the guy. He was. He allowed me to take the first team training a few times at Ravenscraig when they were training at Ravenscraig.
Well, when I used to go to the gym, I used to see Gordon and we'd talk about football and everything else, and I'd let him know that I was once again, I keep harping back to Rangers. I was working at Rangers at the time, and he found it really interesting with regards to analysis and everything else. So, obviously there's things that he'll say in the radio that I might disagree with, but like you said, personally, I think he's a cracking guy.
Yeah. And the good thing about it is a Motherwell fan as well, so there's two years.
Season tickets sold out.
Yeah.
Anyway, getting back onto your team, Motherwell.
Yes.
So we looked at the game from last weekend, right? Now, Motherwell, over the last, well, most of the season, they're playing 4-3-3, right? How did you think that played well against Livingston's 4-2-3-1? Because the footage that I looked at, the first half, Livingston were very, very deep, and Motherwell, they played really, really well with a high press.
Yeah. Well, I sort of was looking at it as well, Peter, and I actually had a different re-intake on it. I thought when Motherwell had the ball, they were 4-2-3-1 as well.
Mm-hmm.
Without the ball, the ball, you're right that there was four up the top end ready to hem them in, which you normally sort of get with teams who are going through bad patches in the season. They sort of stand off a wee bit. But I was very, very impressed with what the new manager's brought in since he's come in.
Mm-hmm. It seemed to be, well, obviously, initially, you get that new manager response, and then they had a couple of no great results. But it was the way they beat Hibs the previous week.
Yep.
I mean, that looked more like a smash and grab at Easter Road. Yep. I mean, because
we touched on it recently that key players. For me, Motherwell have got a few key players.
Yep.
Alan Camp. Yeah, well, and that particular game, the big players for me stood up. The likes of your Tony Watts, your Devante Coles, and that. I thought these guys really stood up. Tony Watts out swinging pass with his side out his foot was. I mean, the pass was phenomenal.
I know. You can tell his experience.
Yeah.
I mean, but there's another player. It started really, really young, busting onto the scenes. Obviously,
from Airdrie. Airdrie player. Yeah, Airdrie player. No, I can remember Liam Brindle, who was the head of youth at the time.
That's right.
When I first went in Airdrie, turning around saying to us, "Listen, Tony Watt." I mean, we obviously went on the first team and then sold quite quickly to Celtic, and he says he will be the next big thing. And at that particular time, it was round about when I think he just signed, scored against Barcelona.
Barcelona, yeah,
and
cracking goal,
and the cracking goal, yeah.
So, with regards to looking through the game against Livingston. Their confidence has went down a wee bit, and I don't know what's happened with that. I'm sure David Martindale will get them. Well, I think there'll be more play with more confidence now because their top six has been confirmed. So I don't think there is much stress on them now. So at the end of the day, they might go into every single game now as underdogs. So they've got nothing to lose, and that might go back to the way they had that 14 on game. You know yourself, when you start winning games, you get into a winning habit, and it's pretty a good habit to get into. Anyway, going back to your Motherwell, Tony Watt, obviously he got himself injured fairly early on in the game.
Yeah, 23rd minute. Yeah.
Aye, 23rd minute. So then was it Long that came on for?
Big Chris Long. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
By the way, we talk about signings here. Now, Chris Long was at a club before, for the previous manager, who again I'm a big fan of, Steve Robertson. Top manager, overachieved for me, for the budget, and this is sort of infuriates me as a fan, as a Motherwell fan, that I think Motherwell fans expect us to be better than what we actually we actually are. And it was just a disappointing season for him this year. But Chrissy Long was big Scouser, cracking player for his last year, and obviously to bring him back in again, I thought was a good bit of business. Didn't have a bit of time to settle, if I'm honest, at the start of the season when he came in, Peter. It taken a bit of time, but I don't know if it's injury or fitness. I'm not sure.
Maybe it's just working with new managers and obviously new players. I mean, when you come back into a club, sometimes that's harder.
Yeah. You just look at the skipper, Declan Gallagher. He can't get a game in it. Scotland internationalist. He's not. I think he's only started one game since the new manager's come in, maybe two.
But at the end of the day, over the last couple of results, when you've got a winning team, you know yourself, you shouldn't change that.
Don't change it. Yeah.
Which brings me back to it's a concept I've had a conflict of minds with how managers think out games. Where on one side, I think this is how my team plays, right? Let's say Motherwell, they play 4-3-3. This is my style of play, the formation that I'm going to play, and this is what we do every single game. Do you do that and let the other teams worry about you? Or do you think this is who we're playing against? We need to change our formation and we need to play certain players. What's your thoughts of that? Or do you just need to do both?
I think there's sometimes too much thought into the game.
Yeah.
I think for me, you always play your best team.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I always say for Motherwell, an example, we always struggle when we go to Ibrox. We always struggle when we go to Parkhead. I think the pitch size has got a massive impact on it.
Yeah.
I think because you're used to playing a smaller pitch, and I think 80% of the other SPL clubs are not much bigger than Fir Park. So when you go to these pitches there, they're more wider. So there's obviously more room to play. But it's a difficult one. That I think when you're playing your two, if I'm playing my two, I'm playing probably with the same players, but my formation will change. I'll not be like full on attack, which I would be in a normal game. Obviously, respect the opponent, respect the quality they possess, but
don't fear.
But don't fear and make it difficult. I think it's probably more the tactical side, which I'm only talking for myself here. I want to get engaged. We played Celtic not that long ago. Big McManus, Steve McManus was the 18s, and I made it. I actually forced him in the first half to go long because I had a high line. I condensed the middle of the pitch so that his midfield couldn't play between the lines. But I asked my defenders, play as high as you can, goalkeeper go high, but be aware of a diagonal ball. And I mean, they beat us 3-2, but 3-1. But and two of them were mistakes.
So there's nothing to do with tactics, it was just human error.
Nothing. If you eliminate the mistakes, you give yourself a chance. So, I think play your best, challenge your players is probably the best way to describe it.
It's always, always having the opportunity to speak to a qualified coach like yourself. That's what I've always wondered. What is the best route? I suppose depends on the team as well. I mean, if you're a Rangers or Celtic manager compared to an Alloa manager, then I think your thinking's totally different. Yes, it's always been something that I've wondered about, whether when you're talking Rangers or Celtic, their attitude would be totally different to a manager of Alloa. Whether to set up just right, this is our formation and my players, and this is the way we style of play, and then because they would need to alter it, I would think, because they've got a lot more injuries because of maybe part time, the condition of their pitches and everything else. Where Rangers, Celtic that are the elite squads, they've got better opportunities and facilities and everything else. So it's a difficult one to work on. But going back to you, we keep diverting off the Motherwell game. I was looking at the sort of hotspots with the Motherwell's passing, and they seem to play rather narrow through the middle.
Yep.
Do you think is that just because of they play 4-3-3? But
I think it's personnel that they've got.
Yeah, the footage I looked though was O'Donnell plays really, really high.
Yep.
As a right back. I mean, we spoke about before in the past about O'Donnell's throwing options into the box. He seems to be a sort of attacking option. I'll put up a clip here where we'll look at the throw-in and see the sort of effects that it could possibly have on attacking options. So here's O'Donnell. So okay, play this on. So we've got that thrown into the box, right? And I think is that Tony Watt at the time who's come in into that middle part of the box, running into space, where the two boys at the edge of the box, that's 2v3, and what I think we've discussed before, that's certainly been practiced in training. Where he's thrown that straight in, and he's known to come forward, header it back the way for Avante Cole just to take it on. What's your thoughts?
Well, can you just quickly go back there?
Yep.
I studied this actually, and obviously the first thing we talk about here is the throw in is effectively a pass, and I always stress that a throw in is a pass. I think he's delivered it in exceptionally well. He's committed a defender, but it's when it goes to Tony Watt's head. This is where I had a look at this. So it goes on the head there. Great wee flick on. Devante, ball goes to Devante. Here, Freezer. So 15. Who's at the 18-yard box there?
Yep.
Can you go back maybe a second, Peter? Just keep on going. There, freeze it there. Right, so there, freeze it right there. So when that ball's travelling there, I looked at that there, and obviously I see his run he goes to the far side.
Yeah.
Right? I would then, if I'm doing analysis work there, I would have thought that he could have possibly went between the referee and the defending player, maybe a wee pivot run.
Yeah, rather than
left.
going in the blind side, just go forward.
Aye, yeah. And because there, when that ball then travels down to Devante, it's a first-time layoff, and he's coming on to it. See there, so he's obviously now trying to go to the left-hand side.
Yeah,
I think Devante does a fantastic job. He's a 3v1 there, but he obviously he's a strong fella. He does a great job, and maybe just the final ball just lets him down.
I think that's a brilliant shout actually. Where Devante could have, where 15 instead of running in behind the Livingston player, he could have just run forward. That's a brilliant shout actually. Where Devante Gold could have just laid it off, just a wee touch, nothing special, nothing strong, and then maybe just striked it the first time. At least they would have got a shot off. But I never even thought of that one where they could have even just had a wee shot there. So that's I quite like that shout actually. So I just love looking through games and seeing where what decision making could be done.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I love doing that, and obviously the good thing is with you coming on board, we can have a wee look at things and not just solely focus on our own teams.
The good thing that you do, Peter, in your sort of work for us coaches is when we explain these to the players to say, listen, this is what we're going to do. It may expose you, but it's to try and help your game.
Yeah. How many times have you said to lads that during the course of a game, and politely say to them, you've no lambasted them and saying that you're doing this, that, and the next thing. No, not me. Yeah. Or letting them, especially academy teams, I've seen it doing post-match analysis with the squad, and I love the way the coaches actually put the decision making onto the players, where they'll freeze the footage and they'll say, right, let's say Thomas or Devante or whatever, you're in this position, you're maybe on the left midfield, you've got number 10 in front of you. Do you think you made the right decision? Do you think there could have been a better option on him for you? And let him have a wee look at it, follow on, and then let them make a decision where they're mentally thinking, okay, that's something I need to work on or look over for the future. What I
think the young, sorry, Pierre. I think the young players, it's instead of the coach giving the answers all the time. Because I've been in dressing rooms where it's just the nodding donkey, goes onto the pitch and it's the complete opposite.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the young players, it's about challenging them, asking them questions, and try to get into their mindset to say, well, tell us what you're thinking here. What's going through your head? Why did you make that decision there? Could you have maybe have done this? Or what was the outcome? Stuff. Just challenge them all the time with these sort of, but making sure that they give the answers instead of you giving them the answers.
Yeah. What impressed me with some players like the McCrorys at Rangers and Robbie Crawford and stuff like that was they actually came and said, look, can I get footage of that game? So they can actually look over it themselves, and then they would sit down with the analysts and cut and edit it and do different things to it. That approach, there were a lot of kids where they would come in, they would train hard, give 100%, do their own thing, and then obviously at the end of the day go home. But the McCrorys and the Robbie Crawfords and guys like that, Ryan Hardy, they actually came and said, look, can I get the footage of that game, and for them to look over so they could try and improve. And it's just wee separate things that separate players that might make it and ones that might not.
Decision making is, I mean, if everybody got a decision making right, there'd be world class players.
Yeah,
and it's and one of the things with your side is it certainly helps. I think the analytic side has a big part in the game to help development. But undoubtedly for me, and I heard this through a conference call that I heard Mourinho talk about, undoubtedly it's down to the human brain to make the because you've only got half a second to make a decision.
Well, sometimes no. I watched a clip the other night there of Messi. It was a clip I came across on LinkedIn, and it highlighted Messi's movement. But what impressed me was he was constantly scanning when he was off the ball, constantly scanning, and then getting himself into space. Whether that is taking a few steps back, so he had that extra second to take the touch, or open up his body, change his body shape. So it's just watching him when he was actually highlighted, and it showed you him constantly scanning. I mean, how many times on a training pitch have you said scan? Yeah. And some players they're ball watching, where all of a sudden somebody's in behind them and they've lost possession.
I think it's the biggest part, and the thing that can annoy me at times in this day and age now, when you get to your medium level of academies, is how players are generally quiet.
Yeah.
I mean, they're super quiet, and through training, you're constantly saying, scan, check your shoulder, look about, where's the space, drive into space, blah blah blah. You all that chat, and you're constantly reinforcing that. And you would think maybe after 5 weeks, 6 weeks of that, it would eventually stop for the coach and being more automatic reaction, but still.
And that's the older groups. That's not just the young kids. I mean, and I don't understand it at times. I mean, somebody that was always very vocal, and it's a player that I rate very, very highly, is the Motherwell on loan keeper, Liam Kelly.
Yeah.
The way he spoke his back four constantly, right through the academy set up at Rangers, he was phenomenal. He really was. He was really, really good. Where he was constantly talking to his back four. And I thought, you're really, really good. And it was constantly communication with him.
I actually have him. I have him, Peter, as a star man for one of the new signings. I think he's been a phenomenal. He's been a phenomenal part of the. So I'm trying to get a light there.
I thought you were trying to get your dinner there.
No, I've had that, Paul.
He's a player I've always rated.
An integral part of the new setup at Fir Park. I think.
I hope he gets himself a permanent first team regular spot, because he deserves it, in my opinion anyway. Going back to O'Donnell, right enough, when I was mentioning about the high press.
Yeah.
Right.
That's better.
Oh, there you are. So we obviously looked at his throw-in, so he's further up the pitch, right? So we're going to have a wee look, if it's okay with you, is to see a movement going forward and providing support on the attacking option. What I never done right enough was look at his defensive qualities. But here we are. We start where Motherwell have one possession back, right? We see the back four there and the midfield three. So long punt, up forward. Now I quite like this where he's running through the middle there. Take it on. A good save with Robbie there, who's another good goalkeeper. Not as vocal, right? So that's him doing his attacking option. And so, do you think? What do you think his attacking options with O'Donnell?
I think the system allows him to do that, and that's how, when we're looking at the formation side, I look at Campbell, who I'm a massive fan of, Alan Campbell.
Right.
I think Motherwell will do a great job in securing him if they keep him. And Robbie Crawford, who is effectively still a young kid, learning his trade, but they allow both Jake Carroll and O'Donnell to go forward. Obviously, O'Donnell he's been obviously highlighted that he's done a great job. Obviously, he's made the Scotland squad through these sorts of patterns of plays that he gets involved with. I looked at this one here, and as you say, it's an effective half up the park. It's a knock on.
Yep, Robert.
It's Robert's.
It's just that doing
Maguire.
It's bad defending there. Is it Taylor Sinclair? Their left
I just
back.
looked at what when the play develops here, Peter, I look at the play
Right.
develops here, and I think when we get to the final third, it's a great save of the keeper, ball still in play, goes in the middle of the pitch, and here, right here, I think O'Donnell could have been brave enough just to hit the cylinders
and be further into the box here.
Aye, yeah. You can see his body language is saying, "Yeah, I'm available," but maybe that wee ball between the centre back and the defender splitting name, if he turns the jets on there, he could have got it. But then I look at it here. It's a strike at goal. It's a comfortable save for the keeper.
Yeah,
I'm thinking then when he's into that area there, does he try and commit the Livy 10? Because he does exceptionally well to come over. His touch, I would have liked to see his touch probably more towards goal than away from goal. And obviously he's lining himself up. But see, as it just goes on, I would have just liked him just to do a wee pivot there and go on his left side and his weaker side. But
do you think
you never know?
With the Livingston's, was that Serrano? It's at the end of the box here. If O'Donnell passed back across to Campbell, right, number 6, do you think Serrano would have caught that ball? See, instead of having a wee shot, obviously he's having a shot there, right?
Right. I think he catches Campbell. Right, Campbell's obviously asking for a layoff. You can see his hands out there.
Yep.
The question that if I'm being super critical to O'Donnell, is one thing we teach all the young kids is, he's went for front post area. I'd be saying, how you not think the back post? Because if you look, the first centre half's at the 6-yard box covering the keeper.
Yeah.
See if he fires that ball in between.
And between the two players,
between the players there. I mean, if it's not hitting the back post here, it's hitting the striker. But again,
was that
decision making again. Yeah,
maybe a long
just coming on.
It's a tap in.
Yeah, again, decision making. I mean, the ball going in would have to be a drill pass, but all Long would be directing the ball for me. That's all he'd be doing, directing the ball.
Aye, because I mean, you could sit and look through these scenes all day long and say ifs, buts, and maybes. Because at the end of the day, like everybody else and analysts and pundits and everything else, you've got the luxury of pause, rewind, slow it down, and all that sort of stuff. But when you're in real time, it's a different ball game. So, with regards to the Motherwell first goal, right? I quite liked the way they set up here. It came for a corner kick, the first goal, right? So we've got the ball there, but it's the way. Can you see that? Okay, aye. No.
Yeah.
Am I not sharing it? Right. Okay. Let's try and see if. Right, there we go. So it's. Right, there we are. Can you see that now?
Yeah, got it.
Right. Obviously, it's came for the 2 men in the corner kick. I quite like the way the Motherwell defenders are spread out. It's not something I see a lot of, because everybody's either condensed or, like Rangers, they have one player behind the other in a sort of line. Then when the ball comes in, then obviously they go to front post through the middle, whatever the case may be. But with this one, I mean, you've got Lammy. It's the nearest to us at the edge. Then you've got, is it Magloire?
Magloire, yeah.
Magloire. I'm trying to think who that is. I think that's Carroll. It's next to him. And then obviously you've got Long at the edge of the box. And then you've got Devante Cole, who's behind the goalkeeper.
Yep.
So you've also got Campbell and Crawford at the edge of the box. So how this Livingston player made that challenge, that's just absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it's made it easy for him. It's an easy decision. It's certainly one worked for the training ground. You can tell the way it's set up with the 4 guys along the 18-yard box, the 2 with Campbell and Crawford just ready for any scraps that come out. And obviously when the scrap does come out, because I think it's Lammy that's doing the front post run, is it?
Yes, no, Carroll, I think it is.
Sorry, it's Carroll. Lammy's at the back post, sorry. I think he's the intended, I think it's an out-swinging ball, actually. It's just over him. Defender wins it. I'll look at the defensive clearance here as well, and I don't see. I mean, if I'm David Martindale, I'm looking at it and saying, how get right through that header, get it over Crawford, get it over his head so he's facing his own goal again.
See, you mentioned to me before, though, it's the way you quite like the way Devante Cole comes off the line and gets his cell in front of it. Takes the keeper
out of the game. Yeah. Again, it's a thing. It's a useful tool because obviously you can tell if you look at the referee, he's looking directly at that area. He's looking for some infringement. He's not even looking at the ball. He's looking to see if there's a push or whatever, and that's the benefit of putting the striker in there, because 9 times out of 10 the goalie likes a wee push at the striker, he pushes her out the road. And admittedly, defence do their job, but it's just the clearance on it I would be a bit disappointed with.
Now, I'm only thinking for Livingston, Bartley is just near the penalty spot here, where maybe for an aerial threat, because he's solid, he's tall, but maybe in hindsight, what if he was further back, in between 8 and 6 in the D? Because, as I said, we've all got a degree in hindsight. So when we carry it on, that ball's coming out.
100%. Yeah, for me, there's 10 bodies effectively behind the ball, including the keeper. I mean, undoubtedly, in the final third or your first third of defending, I mean, I think for me, if you're putting 10 bodies behind the ball, what's wrong with putting a striker in between 6 and 8? What's wrong with that? Because if the striker's an 18-yard box, splitting the 2 50-50, for me, as soon as he touches up with his chest, he's on him. He's on him. Yep. Because there's not a striker there. I mean, you're talking 10 yards. You need to try and shut down, and
look at this. Martindale, space Crawford's got.
Yeah.
No, I mean, obviously there are a couple of options. They could have passed it into Campbell, but it turns out he made the right choice because they got a penalty and they went and got the goal. But I just thought, if it wasn't for Bartley, at least, as you say, have someone in there, 50-50 between the 2 players, half and half, standing at the D, because 9 times out of 10, when a corner comes in, the defending team, more times than not, clear it. You're going to get a header. So,
for me, Peter, I always do numbers, and I look at that there, and if you just freeze up there now, Crawford's just taking a touch. He's an 18-yard box now. There's a 3. If you look to the right-hand side of Crawford, there's 3 Livingston defenders there on 1 player. If Martindale decides to keep one guy up, ask one of these guys there, listen, you go 50-50 then, and give yourself a chance to intercept the ball. And even still there, there's still 4 or 5 yards there, and the ball's now in his foot.
Yeah, and if they had someone in that D area, then they wouldn't need to worry, because their player has picked that ball up and maybe just cleared it up to the halfway line or into the Motherwell half, and that just gives them time to reorganise and reshape. But instead,
here's the thing, right? So sorry, Peter. So here's the thing. So we're talking to the 3 defenders here.
Yeah,
right?
4.
That I just said. It happened to be the 3 that you would have thought maybe one of them would have stepped up.
Yep. Yep.
He's bypassed them. And he's now went on to the fourth, who happens to commit and make the foul.
Which is crazy. He didn't need to make that challenge.
There we go. See, that's the fourth one there, and he's made it right in front of the referee. Easy one.
Because if he stands on his feet, that box is absolutely crowded with people. That player's not getting a shot off. He's actually having to come back on himself, or there's a player at the edge of the box. Who's that? Maguire, I think that is.
I think it's Maguire.
He would have had to have passed that back to Maguire, who might have put it out wide to get the cross back in. So if that player had stood on his feet, didn't need to challenge. I mean, as far as David Martindale, no one is bloody furious at the side of the pitch.
Yeah.
I mean, that's people that are not concentrating.
Just switches off again, decision making again, switching off at key vital times, which can be so costly.
Definitely.
Which can be so costly. Yep.
So going on to the goal, here's Devante Cole. He's obviously learning a lot from his dad, because he's certainly starting to pick up the scoring. Very well took penalty, right down the middle, a lot of power in it. There you go.
Good signing. Another good signing for Motherwell, actually. Starting to get into the games. I think he's loan. I'm sure he's loan. To be fair, a lot of Motherwell's squad is actually loan players, and sadly due to the times that we're in just now, it's I think there's only a handful full time. Liam Kelly for me has, and I'm a big fan of Carswell, massive fan of Carswell. But I tell you what, Liam Kelly has been a bargain. Loan signing.
Yeah, ever since working with him at Rangers, I've been highly impressed with Liam. Just everything about him. He's so focused. It's scary. I mean, when I was there, they won the League Cup final against Hearts at St Mirren Park, and it went into penalties, and he won them. It was phenomenal. He's a really, really good shot stopper at penalties. He had a really good success rate. But going on to Motherwell's second goal, this is the free kick actually led to the goal. So it's a long ball up, and I thought initially it was a fairly weak challenge. To me, I think the foul must have been given for shirt pulling, because he's won the ball there, Jason.
Should we look at the formation side of things there again, Peter? Look how narrow the three top guys are.
That's what I said near the beginning. The formation with Motherwell, everything's played through the centre.
Straight through. And for me, it's about pace. They've got Cole, they've got Roberts, Maguire, and they're all fly machines. And obviously Tony Watt's off at this stage, but Chris Long is obviously on the pitch. He's no slouch himself, but he's more a threat, a physical threat than anything. And this is how I was saying how I like, in an ideal world, Tony Watt just to play in like a sort of 10 role, because if you look at the Hibernian game, his thought process and his way to pass and a whole lot of variation of passes, it's these guys. I mean, it's on a plate for them. It really is.
Yeah, I think as Tony Watt is starting to get into his prime and his age, maybe he's more suited to play through the middle rather than playing the sort of wide attacking man. So the follow on for that free kick, right?
It's a free kick, the second goal, eh?
This is a free kick, which is a wee bit scrappy with the Livingston defence, because he had the shot, right? But no one had followed up on Cole, because when it comes in, they think that they've blocked it, right?
This is an interesting one here, right? So he steps up and get ready to freeze when he hits his right here, Peter. Freeze there. Right, this is what I love about set plays.
Mm-hmm.
We were on a course there recently over States, and I'm trying to think what team. I think it was Toronto, who were done a session on set plays and how important it is in the game about set plays. And I just look here. Obviously, it looks as if it's a strike at goal, but I'm looking at the reaction of the Motherwell players. So you've obviously Chris Long.
Yep.
Highest in the left-hand side here.
Yep. But next to Maguire.
I look at this. Yes. I'm just looking at. Is that Maguire? It's between the wall and yeah. So he's reacting on it. He's ready. He's ready to go in there, and he's the one who actually gets a wee flick on it.
Mm-hmm. But look at Cole's body shape as well, though.
Yeah, and for me, I'd be looking at it and say to defenders, get the right side of the game, and get goal side. Yeah, there's a possibility you could be offside, but you know what? Defend the goal first. And I mean, I think that the leaves are still open here as soon as it hits the ball. It hits the wall here.
Right, obviously, Cole's in an offside position here, right? And so maybe Long. But look, why have a striker on the penalty spot unmarked? Yep. I mean, that's. I mean, don't get me wrong. He took his goal really, really well. Where that just shadows his dad. That.
Yeah.
Scrappy ball. Turn.
I look at the two defenders behind him there, and not to as soon as that ball hits that wall. If you just keep on going, Peter, just keep on going, please. I'll look for reactions there, right there. It's now went scrappy. It's went 50-50. I look at the two central defenders and a 2v1 there, and Devante's still unmarked. If I'm the goalie or a player, I'm expecting react to that reaction. Need a quick reaction. He's a threat now. He's in the middle of the goal, unmarked. And again, the analyst guys at Livingston, I'm sure, will be having a field day with this one here, because that's a poor goal. I think that's a poor goal to lose.
Yeah, but even looking at that, I think is that Robert. It's got the yellow boots. Right, there's a Livingston, who's Livingston player at the edge of the box. I'm not even picking him up. As you say, that's a scrappy ball. That ball could end up anywhere, because that defender's tried to clear the ball, right?
Yeah.
It's come off his two players. It's ricocheted back the way, right? Still no one's picking up Roberts with the yellow boots. It could have went anywhere.
Yeah.
But Cole, the way he's just turned and hit it first time, knowing where the goals are. I think it's a great finish.
It's a great finish.
A really, really good finish. And then I'll go on to the third goal, if it's okay, where you've got Long, who scored the third goal. But that came from a Livingston free kick into the box, or into the Motherwell half. I don't know whether this is a good pass back or not. McCrory's took the touch, but there's been a deflection there. It didn't go far enough. But that touch here from Long, a left-footed player, and he's taken it on with his right to lead it on. To lead it on his left.
Yeah, there's a few things I love about this goal. And it comes in stages for me.
Right.
If you take it back to where the Livingston lad kicks the ball from here, right?
Right.
Now, if you actually look at it, I would guess that everybody's, from a Motherwell perspective, they're in their own half here. And then it's, for me, it's about taking a gamble, show a bit of desire.
Well, he showed desire winning that header. He's done well there.
Yeah. And then it's reaction. And I just thought the top guys in here, he's seen danger. He's in his own half. He's seen the danger. He's taken a gamble. He's expecting a possible back ball to. Now, I think this ball back to the keeper is actually not a bad ball. I think the keeper needs to go onto the ball quicker.
Right.
But look, there you go.
He took a step back, didn't he?
Yeah. I think he could have come onto the ball. But then if you just freeze it here, Peter, right? I look at this defender here, and for me, how can he not go to the touchline area?
Go wide.
Because he does a wee. I just go wide. Because it's eliminating that. It's eliminating a long ball. Yes, he could have been under pressure, but look at that. Look at, again, defensively, they're all at sea here. Because, I mean, one touch, and it's a great touch over.
Well, I think you're spot on with that shout, actually, because the last thing you want to do is hit it straight to a player. Because you are running the angle where it could deflect. It could easily deflect off him. Whereas, as you correctly say, if that player goes either side of him, wide or come in, then it gives McCrory an angle to play the pass. Where they've kept possession, but all of a sudden, because of the deflection, it's still in the final third.
This is a great pass. This is a great pass. And then it's the touch. As you say, a left-footed player would always take that in his back foot. He'd always take it in his back foot. And I actually thought when he came it his right foot, where when I see where the ball goes, I went, oh, he's lost it. He's almost lost the chance. But I tell you, his finish is exquisite, to be honest.
Maybe he's spot on with it, taking it with his right foot, because then he's passing it along the front of his body to put it onto his left foot. I just thought, just naturally, you would try and control it with your left. But I suppose your body shape just totally, he's known where he's wanting to put that ball. Where he's wanting to put it across, and then obviously the dink by McCrory, and I think. But as you say, it all came from initially closing McCrory down in the first place.
The reaction the reaction for his own half to go that distance, anticipating a pass back, going through the gears, shifting through the gears, and I think that's a big part of Motherwell's makeup. If they've got a fast forward line, they rely on. I mean, I know you're saying there, O'Donnell. At that particular time, I probably thought the instruction would be protect to 2-1 and just put the ball up to the guys up top. We'll stretch the team, we'll stretch the game a bit, and we'll see, because we rely on heavily your guys up top who are whippets. And
they've got the pace to do damage.
And that press is, you need to take your hat off to that, because that's a great press.
So this Saturday, they go down to Kilmarnock, who are teetering on the brink of relegation. How do you think they'll go there? That's another tight pitch. It's not the best, one of the best that's in the country. So
I think Motherwell have the beauty of training at Dale Park, which also has a decent, in fact, very good AstroTurf pitch. So it wouldn't surprise me if they've been training on that all week. Or I think they've been training at Ravenscraig lately, to be honest, but I don't know if that's been getting used as a COVID station. I'm not sure.
It still is, because my son goes there on Friday and gets his jab. But I mean, I was looking at the past history. I think was it February they were doing at Rugby Park, and they came away with a 1-0 win. So they've obviously went there before and they've got the results. So it's I think it's theirs to win.
But I think Kilmarnock's in a team in transition and now into their new manager. They're finding it really tough. I know Chris Burke was on the A licence with me, top lad, and I mean, for me personally, I could not get my head round how Kilmarnock allowed a local lad, Damien Brophy, Cleland boy, to leave. Couldn't get my head round that. And because they're struggling for goals, and if anybody was going to pull anything in the hat, it would have been him, I thought.
Yeah, because obviously you get Hamilton Accies next to them, just with a point of difference. So they're obviously not safe either, but for some reason, season on season, I think we've discussed it before, they seem to pull it out of the bag and they always seem to survive. How they don't, I don't know. Yogi, he's got them working well up at Ross County. So, I mean, I really like Yogi as a coach. I love listening to the guy. The guy looks and sounds...
Hey, look, Peter, for going on the A licence, he was my mentor, Yogi.
Was he?
And, phenomenal. If you're a football man, and I tell you, you talk about Roy Keane for the Celtic job. Yogi would do, in my opinion, a phenomenal job at Celtic.
Really?
Yeah. If you could not lift your standards to him and want to play for the guy, there's something wrong with you. Because you know what, we loved him, and we hardly knew the guy, but we fell in love with him.
He's so easy to just, you could sit and listen to him talk all day. I mean, every interview I've seen him and heard him speak, I thought, you're the sort of guy that a player would love to play for. I mean, obviously, he was famous for his carry on and his sort of pranks. I mean, the famous one at Falkirk when Mo Johnston was getting interviewed and he's doing the lap, the warm-up lap in the bus. So he's the sort of guy. But obviously, we spoke about the Motherwell game. We spoke about them, the weekend game. So I think at that we'll wrap it up for this week.
Yep.
And we'll obviously touch base during the week and see how the weekend games go, and maybe go over it again next week, if that's all right with you.
Yeah. Thanks for well done for your first one, Peter.
Cheers, mate.
And here's to many more, pal. Here's to many more.
Right. You have a good week, pal, and I'll speak to you later on.